Hey everyone, Danny here, and today I wanted to talk about the Evercade Super Pocket. This is something that I've thought about making for a little while now, and I'm finally getting around to it. If you want to know the whole history of Evercade, just kind of look it up. Basically, they've been known to make these little game consoles that have pre-installed games. As far as I know of, they're pretty good quality. They're just another one of them. I think they're based out of Europe somewhere in Europe. I can't remember for sure. But it's from something called like Blaze Entertainment. Well, anyway, whenever I learned about the Super Pocket, these are actually things I've seen at GameStop before, like a few years ago, and thinking, oh, okay, it's just another one of these. Why, it comes with 12 games built in. Why is it like $60 when some of these others are cheaper with more games in them? And I'm not even just talking about the cheaper kind where they just put like inconsistent NES ROMs in it or whatever, but this one, whenever I learned about it, I was like, oh, it takes cartridges also. It just also comes with pre-installed games. And to shorten this, basically, I don't have it anymore. I was excited to get it after learning about it, but now I don't have it. And I'll get into why that is. So basically, the Super Pocket, I had the Capcom edition, so obviously it came with Capcom games. It was mostly arcade games, but it also came with the original Mega Man, so at least one or two of them were NES. But the reason I wanted to get it in the first place was because it was a modern console that came with cartridges. I mean, they were all retro games, but it was a modern game system that didn't require a bunch of updates, and it didn't have all this internet connectivity requirements and all that. I'll get into that, but it didn't have all this stuff that required the internet. You just put in a cartridge and it's you're ready to go. I mean, if you don't play the pre-installed games, and it was pretty exciting for a little while because I thought, hey, this could be a modern thing for me to start collecting for, like playing these retro games that were like, if you try to buy them on their own, they're usually pretty expensive. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to get this. It's a money saver. Like, yeah, the console's $60, but that's just $60 for a game system that you can buy cartridges for. And most of the cartridges are usually between like 20 and 30 bucks, which for the types of games it comes with, that's a pretty good deal. All the games you can buy right now are basically retro games, but they aren't just your generic Atari 2600 or NES games or SNES games. They do have those, but it ranges from the Atari 2600 all the way to the PS1 and Game Boy Advance. In fact, one of the cartridges I had came with 2 PS1 games and a Game Boy Advance game. And that's another cool thing about the cartridges. I think every single cartridge comes with at least 2 games. Now, there's usually more, but they come with at least 2. It may depend on the quality of the game or the power of the game. Like, you couldn't have a ton of PS1 games, but there are at least 1 or 2 cartridges that come with 3 PS1 games per cartridge. The 2 cartridges I had for the Super Pocket were the Duke Nukem collections. The reason is because I've wanted to try out like the first Duke Nukem, and the first collection comes with remasters of the first 2 Duke Nukem games, plus the PS1 version of Duke Nukem 3D. Now, I didn't get it for that because I'm not really that big of a fan of Duke Nukem 3D, and that was honestly kind of a lesser version of the game anyway. But the first 2 remastered, I thought that was pretty cool. It was a good, cheaper way to play the original Duke Nukem. The second one came with 2 PS1 Duke Nukem games plus Duke Nukem Advance, which Duke Nukem Advance, every time I've seen that one, it's been very expensive. So the fact that I was able to get it on one cartridge plus 2 other games for like $20-something, that was a pretty good deal. It was also relatively quick at loading, and you could also use save states, so that was pretty quick, and it was pretty convenient too for certain parts of these games because, they were older games, had some pretty hard moments, so, having save states definitely helps out. And another thing I liked about it was, the pocket fits because, it fits in your pocket. The Super Pocket, It can fit in your pocket pretty well. It's relatively, it's not too small, but it's also like it's small enough to fit in the average pocket. So I actually really like that about it. So with all that said, with all these like positives I'm giving this thing, why don't I have it anymore? Well, I'll get into that. Well, to talk about the Super Pocket itself, I did say something about how it didn't like need to be updated or didn't require any updates. Well, apparently it does for certain games, although when I was playing the Duke Nukem games, despite it saying it on the back, I didn't notice anything like different or any glitches or anything whenever I played it without updating it. But the thing about updating the Super Pocket, it's kind of annoying. See, what you have to do is you have to go like on your computer, because it doesn't connect through Wi-Fi, or it doesn't connect through like wireless connection. It connects through hooking up to your computer if you've got one. I think you have to have your computer, but you have to like hook it up. You have to download the update to your computer, and then you have to connect it, and you have to like do all this stuff. I don't remember exactly how I did it, but it was kind of annoying. Like compared to updating your game console or your computer, it's kind of annoying. It feels like a few extra steps that feel unnecessary. But the only positive thing I can say about that is you actually download the update to your computer, as in like, you know, future proofing. Like say you needed to update it, like you'd get it in the future when everything's all down, or you know they stop making these. You can go to your computer if you still have that update. You can still update it from your computer, so that's kind of neat. It's just overall it's just kind of annoying to deal with. Another problem is the shoulder buttons. Now, most of these games don't use them, or they don't really require them, but there are certain games that you will need to use them, and the way they are on the back of the system is kind of annoying. I mean, they're at an elevation that's good enough, but like it's just kind of annoying to deal with. So if you play games that require the shoulder buttons a lot, it's going to be kind of annoying to deal with. But like I said, most games don't require them. It's just the ones that do, you probably won't have the best time on the Super Pocket. Now this one right here is like a micro annoyance, like a very tiny nitpick. But whenever you start up the system, if you have the cartridge in, it won't go to the cartridge right away. It'll go right to the pre-installed games. So what you have to do is you have to press the middle button, like the one that's right below the screen in the middle. And then you go to like cartridges. It pulls up a menu, and then you go to like cartridges. And once you select that, then you can select your cartridge game, that one of the games that are installed on the cartridge. It's just like, it takes a few seconds, but it's like a very tiny, minor annoyance. Now, all those criticisms were for the Super Pocket itself. I could handle all that if the game library was better, but the game library overall is why I sold this thing. Because this is completely subjective. I mean, all this is technically subjective, but this is subjective. I just don't like the overall library of games available to get on the Super Pocket. I don't know quite how to explain the library for the Evercade game systems, including the Super Pocket. It's like semi-niche, I guess you could say, or maybe not niche. I don't know if that's the right word. Not so hidden gems, like where most people, there's a lot more people that know about them than don't, but they're still not played by like everybody. I'm terrible at explaining this. I don't know how to describe this type of audience, but basically, there's other cartridges that comes with like Earthworm Jim, one that comes with like Snow Bros, another comes with Burger Time, and you know, it's just like games like that. I don't know how to describe it, but those are the types of games that are on this thing. They take up a majority of the library on like the Super Pocket and Evercade game systems in general. Now, you do also have games like the Tomb Raider Trilogy Collection and Namco Museum. Well, the problem is, like with the Tomb Raider Trilogy, you know, it's 1 through 3. uh, you already had it came out around the same time as the trilogy remastered on modern game systems, where it had pretty much all the same features, plus optional updated graphics and optional updated gameplay, or like controls. With Namco Museum, well, first of all, those don't even work on the Super Pocket for some reason. I don't know if they were like some of the earliest games to come out for Evercade game systems that take these cartridges, but those are like $50 each or more each. I don't know if this is because like maybe there was a limited run on them, so that's how much they are now. But why would I pay that much for the Namco Museum games when they are available on like almost every single game system out there? Like, it's like it would be one thing if they came with like some rare games that never get re-released on these modern systems, but these are games. I've looked at the library of games, and they're pretty much games that like release on like every single game system, so that's kind of a waste of money. Also, they started releasing cartridges like that have 64-bit games, like Glover, like the N64 version of Glover, and those don't work on the Super Pocket. Those only work on the Evercade Versus, which is, well, the home console version of that, which is, it's pretty cool that these all can take the same cartridge, but obviously with the Super Pocket, if it's a 64-bit one, it won't work. But it only works on the home console one and on the EXP, which is like a little Evercade Switch type of thing, if you want to compare it to something. But yeah, they're going to start doing that. And I read where they're going to start increasing the prices of these games. And one of the reasons I was wanting to collect these in the first place was to save money. But if they're going to start increasing the prices, I don't know. I don't know how much they're going to increase them. But if they're going to increase them, it's not really saving much money anymore. So after all that, I also kind of looked at the Duke Nukem games and I thought, I mean, they're fine, but they're not really something I play all that much. And it's not like I'm really going to play all these Capcom games a lot either. Or if I am, I'm going to play them on, home game systems or home consoles. You know what I mean. So overall, I would only recommend this to those who like those types of games that are on the system, because it is a real money saver if you like those types of games. If you're trying to collect those types of games, or if you just want to play them, not just collect them, but like also play them, I'd say this is a good money saver for you. But if you're not into those types of games, I wouldn't really recommend this thing. It's a real shame because this thing has so much potential. Outside of emulation, this is an official way to play these old games and save money and not really require internet. In an era where all these big game systems or these big game companies are like requiring you install and download updates to your games, like kind of defeating the purpose of having physical games because they're trying to push for digital, and also they remove those digital games. This was pretty nice. This was a pretty nice option. I just wish the library was, appealed or had a more wide appeal. Like, if you like these types of games, like I said, you're gonna get a lot of enjoyment out of this and save some money. But, and I mean, these are of good quality, but if you're not into those types of games, like I said, you're just not gonna like it all that much. Now, if this had come with like Frogger and Rayman and obviously like Sonic or Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, I would have absolutely held on to my Super Pocket if it played those games. Which those, I mean, most of those are 32-bit, so should. But it doesn't, at least as of right now. It's still possible. If they ever do that in the future, I'm absolutely getting another one of the Super Pockets or EXP or the Versus. Getting one of those just because it would be a really cool, convenient, cheaper way to play. Well, maybe cheaper way to play these games. But, I mean, I wouldn't have to be in as much of a rush because I have most of them anyway. But it'd still be pretty cool. But given the fact that, the library is of that certain market, and if they're gonna start increasing it, it's just all this stuff is just kind of going against it, and I hate that because, like I said about the modern game systems, I mean it's a real disappointment. Now, I'm satisfied for right now because I have a RG35XX SP, which the games that it plays, like, or the ROMs that it can play, it usually plays them pretty well. I mean, not the N64, but most of the games I want to play on it usually work pretty well. And that was mostly free when it comes to getting the ROMs on there, but I'd be willing to spend money on more of these games if these companies would re-release these games at a much, at a more convenient price and a more, on these modern game systems would be more convenient. And if they wouldn't require a bunch of installs and updates, which is kind of what I was hoping for the Super Pocket. But yeah, at the end of the day, I'm not a big fan of the overall library, and yeah. So it was fun for a little while, but just for a little while. I hope you enjoyed this video. I wanted to make something like this for a little while. I just now got around to it. So if you like this video, be sure to like it, and then subscribe if you want to see more videos like this or any other types of videos on this channel. And I appreciate you for watching or just listening. Have yourself a good day or night.